Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Francis Entertainment Center. Next stories are Squid on Strike and Sandy, SpongeBob, and the Worm. Enjoy the video. After finding profits to be slightly lower than usual at the Krusty Krab, Mr. Krab starts billing his employees for doing the most normal things like talking, chewing, breathing, lollygagging, and even existing. Squidward finds this outrageously unfair and convinces SpongeBob that they should go on strike. SpongeBob, initially not knowing what it means to go on strike, is devastated when he is fired. Squidward, however, assures him that he will have his job back and more. Squidward starts them off by making SpongeBob throw his hat on the ground, but he couldn't do it since he refuses to let go of his own hat, making Squidward get a ticket for littering from the police. When he makes a sign stating Krusty Krab unfair, but SpongeBob writes his as Krusty Krab funfair, but making the restaurant more popular, pleasing Mr. Krabs on that part. Squidward then has SpongeBob memorize derogatory slogans about Mr. Krabs in the restaurant. When their meeting flies over SpongeBob's head, he draws the attention of an eager young teenager who thinks of SpongeBob as a living legend, rather than joining him in the strike. However, he heads inside the restaurant to take SpongeBob's job. Squidward then attempts to give a speech to the people of Bikini Bottom, who are so excited by his words that they build up an appetite and rush over him to eat at the Krusty Krab. Mr. Krabs steps outside to taunt him about how beneficial the strike has been for his bottom line. Standing up for Squidward, SpongeBob turns against Mr. Krabs and tells him that they will stay on strike forever until his unfair pay deduction policy is abolished. The word forever accidentally strikes a nerve with Squidward, who realizes what he has done and grows deeply unsettled at the thought of being on a never-ending strike with SpongeBob. Unable to sleep with this thought, Squidward runs to the door to beg Mr. Krabs for his job back. Opening it, he is surprised to find Mr. Krabs, who begs him and SpongeBob to return, saying that he cannot stand the teenagers he hired as replacements as they are ruining the place and will not leave him alone. As they walk to the Krusty Krab together, Squidward relishes how the tables have been turned and begin discussing the terms of their return with Mr. Krabs. Meanwhile, while listening to a song, SpongeBob has taken the words of Squidward's speech to heart, spends the night literally dismantling the Krusty Krab. Squidward and Mr. Krabs soon arrive, having come to an agreement. Squidward is horrified to see the Krusty Krab in shambles, while SpongeBob stands proudly among the wreckage. When Mr. Krabs discovers his restaurant is completely destroyed, he literally falls to pieces and fiercely remarks that in order to pay for the damages, Squidward and SpongeBob will work for him forever. SpongeBob jumps in joy while realizing the true meaning of forever, while Squidward suddenly once more takes the full meaning of it. Back in Squidward's imagination, SpongeBob and Squidward are shown as nothing but a literal skeleton crew, still working at the Krusty Krab after one eternity. In the middle of the night, an unseen creature lurks into Bikini Bottom and causes havoc, taking gigantic bites out of everything in sight. Soon it appears at SpongeBob's house and decimates the pineapple, and SpongeBob wakes up just in time to see the beast. The next morning at the Krusty Krab, he tells the frightened crowd of the Alaskan Bull Worm that he saw, and all the townspeople collaborate his tale of woe. They all agree that they need to plan to protect themselves from this monster. Mr. Krabs tries to take advantage of the situation and make cash by selling Krabby Patties, but he is immediately pelted with ketchup and mustard bottles by the annoyed crowd due to drifting off topic. As everyone argues over the best course of action to deal with the Alaskan Bull Worm, Patrick suggests physically pushing the whole town to a safer location. But this idea immediately shot down by Squidward. Among the other suggestions that someone should take on the beast, even though Mr. Krabs says no one would be reckless again to do it. At first, a sailor in a raincoat seems to be the one, but he asks for the restroom instead, and the someone willing to do the job turns out to be Sandy. She shows the crowd that her tail has been eaten by the worm and vows to go defeat the beast because get her tail back. While nearly everyone cheers, terrified SpongeBob and asks Sandy to reconsider, but she refuses to listen to him and rushes out, so SpongeBob goes after her. The townspeople then decide a backup plan to follow Patrick's suggestion and start shoveling the city out of harm's way. SpongeBob catches up to Sandy again and tries to dissuade her from her crusade. Sandy scoffs at this fear, sure of her own strength and the need to retrieve her tail. SpongeBob meekly informs her that he is the one who has her tail. When she asks to see it, all he can produce is a paperclip and a piece of string. Nevertheless, he keeps trying to stop her from proceeding. Nothing he does slows her down, so he begs her not to go there, and that she has no idea what she's up against. Sandy, annoyed at SpongeBob's constant worrying, commands him to agree that there is no animal too big or too dangerous for her to handle. They reach a large, moist cave that seems to be the lair of the worm. Against SpongeBob's protestations, Sandy heads inside to do battle with the creature. She manages to wrangle the wriggly monstrosity and tie it in a knot, proudly presenting it and her reunited tail to SpongeBob, saying that she knew no worm was a match for her. However, SpongeBob timidly points out what she has defeated. It's not the Alaskan Bull Worm, but rather its tongue. After contemplating the fact the cave itself is actually the worm, due to its blinking eyes and upper teeth, Sandy realizes SpongeBob and the other Bikini Bottom mates weren't exaggerating about its size, and sagely decides to hightail it. The giant worm angrily gives chase, but even as SpongeBob and Sandy run for dear life, SpongeBob cannot help but point out he was right all along about the worm being too much for her to handle, coercing Sandy into admitting it, and she does after a while. During the chase, the two run up and down a sand mound, which the worm plows right through, and inevitably eats the behind of one of the townspeople, who is already a victim of the worm. Still needing a way to escape, Sandy takes the paperclip and string SpongeBob showed her earlier and uses them to snag a branch of coral. She swings them out of the charging worm's path, leaving it to hurtle off a cliff, though they landed on the worm's back, prompting them to run back to the plateau. Sandy and SpongeBob congratulate themselves and head off to inform the town of the worm's defeat. Meanwhile, the townspeople, unaware of the victory, have finished moving the city to the bottom of the cliff and give a cheer, thinking it is perfect, just as the plummeting worm lands right on top of it, destroying it, and the worm utters a pitiful "ouch"